Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup. Your host Alvaro to bring you another exciting guest. I mean, how many of you have seen the movie Black Panther or Star Wars? Classic movies. Now for that, we're gonna have the own former president in marketing of Walt Disney Studios and Disney Plus. His name is Ricky Strauss, and not only he is a complete beast when it comes to marketing, but also he is a designer on the side. Now it's one of his biggest hobbies, and to the point where he's been designing multiple homes, and I can't wait to hear all about what he's been doing and what he's up to today. Very big legend in the space, and super excited to have him as a guest. There you go. What's going on, Ricky? How you doing?
Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm good. Thank you.
So good to have you here. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Sorry.
Now, how are things in LA?
Beautiful. Gorgeous day. Yeah. Living in California, even though we are all suffering from extreme climate change, drought, in California, in Southern California anyway, today it's very nice.
I love that.
No
And, I'm very, very excited to have you here today because I was making a quick intro about yourself. You were the former president of marketing for Walt Disney Studios, also Disney Plus. You've been heading all the marketing campaigns for these blockbusters such as Star Wars or Black Panther. And you've always been not only just an expert when it comes to marketing, but also a big aficionado when it comes to design, right? You've been designing your homes and you've been working on that as a passion, and now it's what you're focusing on, right? So tell us a little bit about you and what's going on.
Thanks. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate that on this live Instagram feed on your show. It is a show. I mean, I think that funny enough, everything that we do is around storytelling in our lives, not only what I was able to do for a living for so long in entertainment and what I still love about movies and television shows and books and podcasts and all forms of distractions of our daily lives to get into a story, whether or not it's fiction or nonfiction rather. You're really living a story. Everybody's own journey is a story. And so for me, when I was a little boy, I loved to draw pictures of homes and furniture, but I would also fill them in with the people that were living there and what their own culture was and how they entertained and how they lived. And so getting into the movie business was something that was very fortunate for me because I got to expand upon that professionally, but also I still loved interior design, and I always had that in my family. My grandmother was a great designer in Las Vegas in the 60s and 70s, and then in New York. My aunt, Babs, is a designer, and both incredible women. And I learned a lot from them, as well as from my own mom, and from paying attention to the experts. So, I've always been doing it. When I was in college, I decorated our dorm rooms. I always, and then, even when there wasn't a lot of money or a lot of resources, I still found a way to make a space interesting and at least curated.
That's very, very nice what you're saying, and super interesting because when it comes to the entertainment industry, right, especially the movies and series, how important is to have a great setup and the design of it?
Yes, I always have a huge amount of respect for production designers and set decorators and dressers and art directors because they work with the director of the movie and the producers to come up with a look and feel, not only of the set that's a practical location, but also in actually designing a set from the ground up that sometimes isn't based on anything that's in the script. And so not only do you have to have a really good idea for design, you also have to have a really good sense of story and understanding what a character would have in their environment and where that action is going to take place. There's a huge amount of discipline to that as a craft. But for me, I also love the idea of building a home that's informed by your own life. And so nothing I've ever done for me has been just about shopping at one or two stores, filling in the space with furniture that's comfortable, and you're done. I think a lot of it is informed by where you travel and what pieces you've inherited or taken from
Yeah.
your family. Um, but also, it's really interesting to have a point of view. And I always used to say that everybody, even your finance teams, are creative. Everybody's creative, and everybody, people that say, "Oh, I'm not creative," I don't believe that. I think everybody has a point of view.
Hmm. And well, I love that you brought the point of traveling because you're a big traveler, you've been seeing the world, and
Yeah.
this also is a way of expanding your creativity and understanding the story, right? That you can bring from the different cultures into your own
Yes.
space.
Yes, I have always collected tabletop items. Sometimes if I try to travel light, so there's times where I just bring back placemats or something small, but something that is going to show up in your home so that when you're able to create a meal or entertain for friends and family and you have things on the table that reflect places that you've been. First of all, a lot of those items are not terribly expensive. They all can be really distinctive. I love being able to set a table and say those glasses are from Portugal, the plates are from China, the napkins are from France,
Hmm.
the flatware's from Europe. And again, I was really lucky that I got to travel, but I'm even talking about going to an antique store 2 hours
Right.
from your
Hmm.
town when you're going away on a little road trip. I just think it's important. Again, like I'm not a hoarder, and I believe that stuff is needs to be curated. You have to have a
Because it's a
discipline around
skill.
it.
It's a skill, otherwise it's too chaotic, right?
Yes, but you should buy what you love, and you should buy
Right. Exactly.
what reminds you of a place. And I also
Hmm.
think that it's in our enlightened self-interest as consumers to not just buy new things, because new things are being made and manufactured, and it's not great for the environment to just keep making something new and throwing out old. There's a lot of ways of recycling and redesigning and reformatting things. In fact, in my house that was just published in Architectural Digest
Hmm.
for an online exclusive, there's a fur throw in my living room that was made from my grandmother's fur coat. So
Wow.
I had an idea when she passed that I would take one of her fur coats and turn it into a throw. And so it's a piece of her in my living room.
Wow. So, because we are in the real estate industry here and we work with a lot of different architects, developers, real estate brokers. And we've always
Yeah.
heard these stories on when they're trying to sell a house, and sometimes they want to include all the furnitures, but there's some pieces that they don't want to include because there's that attachment, that special value that even though it's just maybe $500 or $1,000 or $5,000, whatever it is, in comparison to the big price of the house, it still remains so important that they need to keep it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there is a way to create rooms around pieces that you love, or you can find a way to recycle them. As I said, how many people take old dressers and turn them into sink
True.
cabinets, or how many times you could take the top of a coffee table and reuse it to create another table, or for a console. And
Hmm.
I had a desk in another house that I turned into a vanity. I've done it so many times, and I've been very fortunate to have lived in different styles of homes in Los Angeles, and that's one of the great gifts of our city, is that there's a lot of different style homes
Oh,
from
yeah.
the turn of the century to today. And I'm lucky to live in a mid-century house now, but in the past I've lived in a Tudor revival, in a Hollywood Regency house, in a Spanish house, in a post and beam house. And again, this is my passion. It's what I love. And I think there's nothing more special to me than going into someone's home and going into someone's space. By the way, it could also be their office, even in
True.
an office
Hmm.
building, in a non-home environment, and feel like you understand that person. It's such a feeling that you're creating, and having comfortable furniture and a place to put your drink and a place to sit down and a place to relax and art that amuses you. Again, nothing has to be super expensive. It just
Right.
has to be personal.
You are so passionate when it comes to design and homes, and coming from the
Thanks.
entertainment industry and have worked on so many campaigns for all these amazing movies. I gotta ask you, because this is something that actually I was never even thinking about until now.
when it comes to the setups, right? We were briefly touching about it, the setups, or when you're going to be doing certain scenes, all the design that takes into place. Who has the saying on it? Do you guys bring other designers on board, or
So
how does that work?
the director of the movie has the final say usually when it comes to production design. When it comes to making a movie or a series, you have the director is the creative engine for the film. And he works with, or she works with the production designer, and they craft the whole look and feel of the movie. They'll have a conversation about where they want to go strategically, and then have a holistic view of the sets. And depending on the movie or the show, it could be really big, like you mentioned, a big Star Wars adventure, or it could be much more contained, like a 3-camera sitcom that really only takes place in one setting. But the pieces and the design that's informed by those decisions gets filled in by the department under the production designer to do that. And there was a period of time in my life when I was in marketing years ago where I did look into the idea of moving into production design, because it was a good marriage of my two passions. But I stayed in film marketing, and then I was a producer too. I was on the other side, so I was making movies, and I was a production executive. And then when I got to Disney after a run at Participant, which was a media company focused on socially relevant entertainment, I learned even more about the creative process through watching the folks on the park side with the Imagineers and everything that was done at Disney. And it was a wildly creative company, and something that I really, really loved being a part of for almost 11 years. But for me, again, like my offices, I had, I was in very corporate space, but I still had pieces. I'm a big Marilyn Monroe fan, and I collected original Marilyn Monroe magazine covers from the time, the late 40s until she died in the early 60s. And I had framed them as a series, and I put them behind my desk, up as a suite of, and again, Marilyn Monroe really doesn't have anything to do with Disney other than, I guess they both were in the movie business at the same time. But for me, I created a wall of Marilyn art, if you will, in my office. I also, on another side of that wall, again, back at Disney, I asked the Marvel guys in New York to emulate a mural I had seen in their offices that was a very vintage Captain America, from kind of looked like World War II propaganda posters. And I had them turn that into a wallpaper for me in that same office. So amazing. Yeah. So, again, like there's ways of being creative even in your office.
Absolutely. Space. Now, obviously, you have such a great expertise when it comes to marketing. And one of the things that we also want to touch base on is on how to launch products, right? Like you've been working on these incredible movies and then coming up with the whole campaign to make sure the entire world knows about it in a very strategic way. So what will be, out of all the years that you've been doing this, the biggest lesson that you've learned when it comes to launching a campaign?
Well, first of all, this applies to anything. My feeling is that you need a unique selling proposition, sometimes known as a USP. I think that understanding your brand and understanding the product that you're launching is really important. And you got to think about the DNA of that product. It could be anything from a line of dishware to selling a home, to selling an office building, to launching a clothing line, or any kind of business that you're building, especially with all the competitive online and digital activity that's happening. What is the unique selling proposition? What am I creating in the environment, and who are my competitors, and what is the unmet need that I'm trying to fill? Once you understand what that proposition is, and then really understanding what it is that is the DNA of that product or of your business, including who you are, you have to stay very tried and true and avoid mission drift, so that you stay focused on what it is that you're selling, who your consumers are. That's probably number two, who your consumers are, so you know who the audience is. Exactly. So for example, in the movie business or in the TV business, you make a show, you make a movie, and you know immediately, okay, we're going to go after these people. We're going to go after this audience. As a focus, doesn't mean that there's other audiences that could actually have unintended consequences that could be successful. But even in the case of a house, you could say, we're building this house. or we're going to design this house for a family of 4 and a dog, and they're going to have 2 cars, and we're going to, but you can also then think out larger. Okay, well, it could also be a couple, or maybe a single person that has a lot of family come and visits. But what is it exactly that you're doing and what your focus is? Mm-hmm. And then once you understand that, getting deep with what it is.
I love it. No, thank you for sharing. That's very important. And a lot of people, you know, even when it comes to real estate, when they're trying to put this whole campaign together to launch this amazing home, they don't even know what the DNA on it is, you know, that unique selling point. And I really like that you broke it down. We definitely want to put it in the highlights. And I mean, aside from that, I obviously ask this question to all of our guests, and I'm very curious to know what it is to you. Because, you know, luxury could be a feeling, it could be something material, but what is really luxury to you?
Exclusivity, craftsmanship, quality, and distinction, care. I think immediately luxury is anything that's handmade, anything that is something that was crafted by one person or a team of people and not a machine. That's luxurious to me.
So true. And you know, you just said that, and to my mind it came because you both, and you know, you and I both travel a lot. And I was just also this year in Kilimanjaro. I was in Tanzania, and the guys there, they are so talented. They do such amazing craftsmanship, and to think that they did it with their hands is so wow. You know, I'm actually staring at some of the stuff I bought, like you said, buy some local things, and it's unbelievable the stories.
I was in Peru not that long ago with close friends, and we were in the Amazon, really remote. And we took a trail into the jungle. And when we came out of the trail, there was some people, local people, that had were displaying some of their pieces that they had made from local wood, from a certain palm tree that's not available anywhere other than the Amazon. And there were these beautiful, beautiful bowls that they crafted with their own hands. They would have been in any high-end shop in Manhattan or London without any question. They were stunning. And they were super affordable because they were made locally by hand in the Peruvian Amazon. But that was luxurious to me.
Wow. I love that. You know, I gotta go to your place at some point and discover all the stories that you have through all the items that you have in there, you know, because that's what you
for
said.
Me, I mean, for me, if somebody cares, I'm happy to walk you through it. But for me, I can go room to room and I can actually recall some of those spots. And I love that.
That's incredible. Well, I'm actually going to LA in a few days. We talked about it. So we'll see.
You'll come by. Yeah.
Now,
you got to come by.
Last question. As a former president of marketing in Walt Disney, you've experienced so many different, you know, amazing projects. Now, what's the next phase for you?
Well, we'll see. I'm actually working on a couple of ideas. There's some stuff that I'm doing in the design space. We'll see where that goes. And also other pursuits in entertainment that are being incubated right now. So I imagine in the next month or so, we'll be announcing some stuff that's going on for me. But I've been having such a good time. And it's been, even though the world is a very tricky place right now, I feel very fortunate. It's been great.
Well, I'm glad that things are going well for you. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us today. I know your time is limited, so thank you once again. And I just wanted to say if there's anything else that you would like to share before we wrap this up.
Thank you, my friend. I would say just to everybody that's watching and listening, we're all creative. There's no bad choices. Do what you love, and more importantly, when it comes to your home and the space that you're in, bring things in that you really love and that you really care about. And if somebody isn't on board with your decisions, that's okay.
So true to that. Well, thank you again, Ricky. I appreciate it. You're awesome. Wishing you the best of success, and I'm sure we'll see each other very soon.